Hello, HubSpot professionals. I'm here with Pasha, founder of Shape and Scale HubSpot agency. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey man, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Own Shape and Scale, we are a boutique, what I would consider like HubSpot and RevOps consultancy. I've been a HubSpot partner for close to 11 years now. I've been in the industry probably 18 years in what I would just say technology agencies. So providing demand gen RevOps to clients in B2B marketing, mainly SaaS, enterprise. Because I'm in the DC area, we do some state, federal, and local too. So kind of seeing the profession mature. And today I spend most of my days really working in HubSpot, working in Claude, working with data enrichment tools, working with signal-based tools, and just trying to cobble all that together for my clients. And just hit year four. I think my goal was to hit 5 years. I
Mhm.
hope to make it to 5 years, and at that point we'll see. But no, definitely can't complain. HubSpot Gold Partner just kind of re-upped in the July tiering, so that's always good. And yeah, man, it's one day at a
Great.
time.
Awesome. Today, I want to talk about Howley, and I want to talk about how you approach a workflow data audit with your clients, what exactly you're doing, like what are the steps that go into it, what's your thought process. And first, I want to talk a little bit about, well, Howley is your workflow visualizer and workflow auditing tool. But how did you find Howley first?
Yeah, I think I saw Holly first on LinkedIn. I think that was probably the first place that I found it. And then I was watching a podcast or like a LinkedIn live, and I want to say the name is escaping me, but they were doing a deeper dive into the product. And I had actually gotten like a test account probably 6, 7 months ago because I'm always just like evaluating software. Um, like just I was kind of curious, like what's out there, and can it help me or better serve my clients? So probably came across it a couple different ways: self-exploration, LinkedIn, and podcast. So yeah, Howley, it's like really easy to use. Obviously, you're gonna OAuth in and get your portal connected. I'm probably in like 8 portals at once. So
Mhm.
whichever one I'm working on, I kind of get in there and you can see that obviously here. That was really easy. You can switch your portal, do all the things that you need to. Um, then when you are greeted with the initial kind of view, it's, if you've ever worked in Miro or if you've ever worked in any type of like board like capacity, it's really easy to just all of a sudden be greeted with kind of all the objects, right? As they relate to the workflows that you have. So generally when you're looking at, and I think this right off the top is why it's so helpful, because when you're looking at workflows in the workflow builder, no matter how well you've got your taxonomy done, or if you create different views, like it's still very hard to get a visual representation of like, hey, like just right now off the bat, I'm like, okay, like don't have a ton of contact workflows, have more deal workflows, and then company got a ton of company workflows, right? Just off the bat, like I can see um, the volume, which I think is interesting.
Mhm.
So there's a couple ways you can approach it, right? Like if you wanted to, you could just filter on contact or you could filter on deal. You can basically get your object types together. So you can filter that way. You can filter on active versus inactive, right? So really easy to filter. You have advanced filters here. So like if we wanted to see something that perhaps is like property enrollment specific, you get the gist. Anybody that's worth their salt in HubSpot will be pretty used to, I think, the way
Mhm.
this is all like built together.
Mhm.
If you roll in here and you double click, or you just click in, like you'll start to see, what is the workflow, what's the description. I like this. What happens if I turn this off?
Mhm.
um, you know, You click there.
I
So
think
again, gives you the
mhm.
details.
I think these specific workflows, they have some really strong naming conventions, which already makes it easy to understand, even in the HubSpot list view, what they are, what they do, and where they belong. So that's great. Um, but I do see some connections right off the bat. Like if you were to click on the second workflow, the hard bounce workflow, maybe even drag that over to the other side. I think that's a downstream to the customer contact. So there is a connection there. And this one is started by three other workflows. So already, right, when you have a tool like Howley, you can separate by the connected types. For example, I think the workflow we're on, the which one are we on? The contacts customer contact, the second workflow there to your right. You can separate that, and now you can see, okay, so this workflow is started by three others. So if you were to draw that map across and see what the three workflows are that are starting this one workflow, that's an immediate win, right? As a consultant, when you come into a brand new portal, and you can start to tell a story of, okay, this workflow is connected to three others because it started when type is either customer or status is inactive.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what's really cool about it. Like I started off with all connections off, which shows you like all the connections,
Mhm.
right? So if you zoom
Oh yeah, there's
out,
a lot over there on the company side of things.
yeah. So this gives you like that uh 10,000 foot view, which I think is interesting. And then once you get in there, you can kind of see like, oh wow, like there's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
overlap. But then when you turn it off, obviously, and then to your point, when you click into one of these, you can kind of see what basically starts it, which is really cool.
Mhm.
Um, or so as you can see how that like goes. So it's really helpful to see all that. Obviously some don't, right?
Mhm.
Like some are just
Some
completely,
are just standalone workflows there. Um,
yeah,
what I'd be interesting in, and I hope this is okay, but if you were to click the health checker, right,
yeah,
we can see right off the bat that there are quite a few workflows that haven't been updated in the last 6 months. Um,
yeah. This is one of those things where I wish HubSpot would give us the ability to archive
mhm,
workflows. um, as you can see, well, some of these, again, some these actually just haven't been updated and these have been
mhm,
set in. Um, but we've got a couple that, are like just not in use anymore.
mhm,
The other one I like too is just being able to see duplicate actions. So
mhm.
same property value written by multiple workflows. And then you can just like click on that and basically pop right in, which is really nice. And you can take notes, which I like. Um,
So, um, yeah. So for example, right, when what I'd be really interested in learning from you is when you are made or when you are given access to a HubSpot portal of a client you're working with on a brand new client, and you are put in charge of auditing their workflows and auditing all of their automations. What would be the first step for you? Like, what does that look like for a HubSpot consultant?
I mean, it probably looks different for all kinds of different consultants, I think.
Mhm,
I mean, generally, I'm going in there. First thing I'm looking at is just getting the sense of like the taxonomy, right? Like, is there any taxonomy? Because if you're not working in Howley, like, then you're just like in the actual portal. And so you're kind of at the mercy of like how it's been named, right?
mhm,
Oftentimes, like, the name of the workflow doesn't really speak to like what it is meant to do. So that's probably first thing. I think from
mhm,
there, I'm separating it by the different objects, right? So
mhm,
like just understanding for each object, like what are we automating? Why are we automating it? Then I start to look at, much like here, getting this sense of like the trigger types, right? So like, are we triggering from like a page view or a property enrollment, or Are people using like list memberships? If they're
Mhm.
using list memberships, that starts to become a little bit more dicey. It becomes harder to troubleshoot enrollment. So just looking at things like high level like that, um, really trying to find points of overlap, I think is probably one of the biggest things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do we have multiple workflows doing the same thing? And then taking a step all the way back, like for pretty much all the automations, like where does it sit in the what I would consider just the customer journey, right? So we have like, what is the folder structure of said workflows? Does that map to like, you know, hey, these are workflows that we use for when somebody enters the system, and then assignment, and then deal close, and then success, like trying to take all that into consideration.
Mhm.
Um, but like I said, I start with taxonomy, structure, objects, overlap, and then start to kind of reverse engineer everything.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Um, One of the things that on our side, as we work with our current customers and especially consultants, one of the things that came up was around, okay, we have the visualizer and we can map things out and we can use the all connections and we can see these clusters of workflow connections to try and make sense of, well, there is some overlap here. Is it through lists or properties, what have you? But certainly also, how do we condense some of all of these workflows that we have? And so we've seen portals, right, where they have 300, 400, 500 workflows,
Hmm.
and 90% of them are active at the same time, which is not an abnormality in the HubSpot world, right? Because you'll have organizations where they have had multiple consultants come in or multiple admins in-house that have all created their own process and they've all created their own um, nurtures and what have you. And so being able to look at something like Howley and being able to see, okay, we saw that we had some workflows that are still active from 53 months ago. That is an immediate, I would say, a quick win for a consultant to come in and say, hey, we have active workflows from 5 years ago. It would
Yep.
probably make sense to either turn this off if it's not no longer serving a business process, or consolidating it into something else. So is that sort of how you look at it when you're approaching workflows too?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously like a big piece of it.
Yeah.
Now you can look at it two ways. Like sometimes if something's been on that long, it generally just means because it's like they got it set up the right way the first time and it hasn't needed to be revisited, but it's always good to check. So,
Hmm.
but as an example here, it's like obviously a big one is like marketing contact status, right? So like
Hmm.
it's really nice to be able to come in here into the search bar and say like, hey, I'm always going to check for do we have a workflow that sets non-marketing contact status, right?
Hmm.
And looking here, it's like I'm looking through and it's like, yep, I do. Um, we have a few that deal with that,
Hmm.
or we have a few that at least deal with marketing contacts. But yeah, just this is like a good example of like how I might use it just to start.
Awesome. One of the things that I'd be interested in seeing is also around the auditing process. So for the workflow analysis that's built into Howley, just to see what it looks like for these 75 workflows and how it looks on a workflow audit. So of course, right, as you know, with the AI insights layer, we look at gaps and issues, but we certainly also flag opportunities and recommendations. So if we have a portal with 75 workflows on it, are there some opportunities here to consolidate or remove, or are there some business processes that could be added? So I'm interested in seeing this one. So 68 active workflows, primarily focused on company segmentation. Okay. And some issues right away are empty trigger workflows are active, company data quality tasks are scattered. And so what we are able to surface here is what is within this portal at any time and again, give you the high level overview of what we see as issues and gaps and opportunities, and certainly also recommendations for next steps here. So I think this is always interesting when I'm entering a new portal for the first time to run this insights layer to get a brief overview of, well, what do we see across these X number of workflows here? Opportunities. Okay, this is interesting. Deal forecast mapping duplicated 6 times. Interesting. And then limited use of delays and workflows. Most fire immediately on trigger, which could lead to notification fatigue. May not account for data sync timing. And then under recommendations, right, that is where we say things like audit or consolidate or review the renewal notification, things like that that we see across all the workflows, depending on the tasks and the actions within them. So this is really cool. Thank you for sharing. One thing I would
Yeah.
like to see is, I know I'm talking a lot. I know this is supposed to be about you, but I'd be really interested in driving the conversation towards the data audit under the download section. So on the left there, where we actually can see the audit report as it looks. I'd love to get your thoughts on this piece and your feedback there.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I think like some of these, like when I'm looking at this, yeah, I mean, these are all really good. I think it's just to be able to kind of have this as like everything kind of done for you. And then obviously, like you can review it. And if you're presenting to a client, you might have some color to give to this, right? Like there might
Mhm.
be a reason for some of this or some of the complexity. But I think overall, just being able to get all of this in like one go when you're doing like a larger audit, right,
Mhm.
is just amazing and cuts down on so much like time to value that I like. That's, I think, why we really like it, you know?
Under the connections, yeah, it's pretty cool too, because rather than having to build this out yourself in Howley, think about who, like one of the things we think about is who this is being presented to. And so it's oftentimes a decision maker or it is a some VP. And so what they're interested in is again that 30,000 feet audit report. And what we see from consultants is that they take this report, present it upwards to the client, and it becomes sales collateral because we have gone through your portal. We can see exactly what's wrong, and these are the opportunities, and here's how much it's going to cost you. So
Yeah,
already the speed to value of being able to hammer out 10 of these and just send off to a client with a scope of work is also an immediate opportunity on how our consultants use Howley.
agreed. I also like the best practices here.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
the suggested folder structure is great.
Mhm.
Review cadence is also great. Yeah, just I mean, again, it's a lot of good stuff in one, basically one go.
And it's fully branded. So I noticed you have put in your logo there at the top. So that's awesome. One thing I would recommend is changing the gradient, the background there. Otherwise, it may not pop as much. But all of
Yep.
that can of course be done under the account.
The process of
Okay.
reviewing like an audit, I've already found some really good stuff just from it. I was able to like work into a larger audit report for them. So, and I mean, even for clients where, you know, it again, I have different engagements with all kinds of different clients, right? So sometimes I'm not in charge of like keeping their automations up to date. Like I might just be doing like enrichment for them or be more focused on, I don't know. It for whatever kind of engagement, it's still really nice to have this at a very high level to be able to see like, hey, here's some things going on with automations.
Mhm.
Like it's good to keep that in my back pocket when we're thinking about just like, you know, making recommendations, or if I notice a property that like we're having issues with, it's just nice to be able to go in and say like, Oh yeah, like, manual forecast categories, like getting that updated by workflows. I've noticed like some issues with that, right? So it just gives you like a little bit of additional context.
And my final question to you is, what would you tell another HubSpot agency owner who's still doing this manually?
I mean, yeah, to me, it's like a no-brainer. If you're reviewing more than one portal, like every couple months, I feel like it pays for itself. Like it really cuts down on the manual work. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that you're looking for. And not only that, it just like does it in a very intelligent way that's easy to discern, not only for you and the client.